Hey everyone, welcome again to Indian Story Read Along. Today's story is from a bumper issue of Amar Chitrakatha called Tales from the Mahabharata. So, Mahabharata, as you know, is a huge epic, but peppered in there are a bunch of little stories. And one of these stories is about the sage Uttanka. If you would research him, he was located in the Maru desert and he had a whole bunch of things happen to him as well. But this is just one small thing about when he was a young man. Uttanka. Many disciples came to the hermitage of sage Gautama, but the one who won his special affection was Uttanka. When Gautama worshipped Agni, the god of fire, he always chose Uttanka to assist him. And so Uttanka is there doing the havan, the homam, and he's thinking, "Oh Agni, I worship you for the sake of my guru, who is my only god." And Gautama, of course, he's a sage and has all these yogic powers. He's thinking, "My dear Uttanka, I know what you are thinking. May the divine Agni come to your aid when you need him most." Important for later in the story. The years passed. One day, Gautama called his disciples to him. "You have acquired mastery of the Vedas. You may go now and set up ashrams of your own." One by one, they came to Gautama to be blessed before departing. And Uttanka is thinking, now it's my turn. What dakshina should I offer my guru? I'll leave it to him to decide. So when a student is finished their studies, they give their guru something that is of great value. Usually, it doesn't have to be monetary value, but it is very valuable to them. And usually it's a one-of-a-kind thing if you can get a really good guru dakshina for your guru. But when Uttanka approached the sage, "No, not you, Uttanka. I cannot permit you to go. Not yet. I need you here." Over the years, so what would happen is that all of these young men, young boys, and then they become men at the ashram, they would study there for years and years and years. And then when they were almost adults, they would be allowed to go and make their way in the world and use what knowledge they've been given. But he's not allowed to leave school yet. Over the years, Gautama became so dependent on Uttanka that even though hundreds of disciples came, finished their studies, and left, Uttanka had to stay on. So he's thinking, will I ever set up an ashram of my own? But how can I go when my guru needs me? So Uttanka, serving Gautama and his family, grew old without either his guru or himself realizing it. "I am very hungry," he's thinking. "After I've set down this water, I'll have something to eat." So that's Uttanka. That's not Gautama. That's Uttanka having grown old. The other thing is that you might see in these stories that sages are just kind of old guys for a very long time, and they don't die and they don't get any older. They're just kind of suspended in middle age, like around 60 years old. They look like they're 60 for 1,000 years. And that's how, it's not a mistake in the story. They could, at a certain point of tapas and japam, you're supposed to be able to manipulate time and matter and even the way that you age. So they are just kind of stuck in that comfortable place for a long time, for however long they want. And some of them even choose to look like young men forever. It's at that point they have that choice. So inside the hut, Gautama's wife says, "You're back, Uttanka. Please fetch me some firewood. There's none left." So he's hungry, but he doesn't say a thing. He wants to leave the ashram, but he doesn't say a thing. He just quietly serves his guru and his family. So then Uttanka thinks, food can wait. Her orders must be obeyed first. So he's very diligent and very loyal. So containing his hunger, Uttanka went to the forest. An hour later, "My back aches. It never did before. Is my devotion to my master weakening?" As he returned to the hermitage, "This load feels heavier than usual." He doesn't realize he's aged. "When will I be free to set up my own ashram and retire to a life of meditation and peace?" he's thinking. Out of sheer fatigue, Uttanka threw the wood on the ground instead of putting it down gently. And then he sees and he's like, "What's that? A lock of silver hair! It's my own! I have grown old, decrepit. I have like a lot of gray hair and it's not that bad. But Uttanka feels bad. He wasted his life, or he feels like he just gave his life to someone else. He's never lived it himself. So then he's just really frustrated, and fortunately Gautama notices and he says, "What's the matter, my son? Please calm down and speak out." Uttanka says, "Old age has overtaken me without my being aware of it." While Gautama patiently listened, Uttanka poured out his woes. "And I have not yet tasted worldly happiness. Though I have lovingly served you for many years, you have not yet permitted me to go." And then Gautama says, "My son, I kept you here because of my love for you. But if you wish to go, you have my permission and my blessings. And if with the strength of your penances you become a young man, I shall give you my daughter to you in marriage." So he wants to just do one final test. So he's like, "Look, on the basis of all the japam and everything that you have done so far, you try to get your youth back. And then if that happens, you can marry my daughter." Unfortunately, there was no choice back then. It was just a normal thing being like, "Hey, take my daughter." Just like, "Hey, take this shovel," or "Here's my cow," or something. They would just do this. So that was a very normal thing in the ancient days. And lo, the very next moment, Uttanka regained his lost youth. Gautama placed his daughter's hand in Uttanka's, which is another thing I thought was weird. Like, this girl is probably something like 16 or something like that. And Uttanka is like, his real age is like 65, but he looks young. I always thought that was weird, but I mean, they worked it out in the story somehow. Gautama placed his daughter's hand in Uttanka's and later solemnized the marriage. After the marriage, I also thought it was weird that like Gautama is 1,000 years old and he has a 16-year-old daughter. Anyway, after the marriage, "What Guru Dakshina should I give you before I go away with my wife?" asked Uttanka. And then Gautama says, "Your excellent conduct as my disciple has been fee enough. I need no other." But then Uttanka insists, "Well, with your permission, may I bring something for mother?" And then Gautama says, "If it pleases you, you may do so." So here's where it gets kind of crazy, that Gautama leaves and he doesn't hear this next part. Uttanka asks, "What shall I bring for you, mother?" And then his wife says, "If you must, then bring me the celestial earrings worn by the wives of Saudasa." So she's just like, imagine my kid was just like, "What should I bring for you?" And I'd be like, "Bring me a rock from the moon." That's the equivalent of what she is asking. The thing is impossible to get. And he's going to have to go through so many trials and tribulations to get these earrings. And so Uttanka already knows this. He thinks the earrings of Saudasa's wife. "My penances will aid me in obtaining the earrings for you," he says out loud. Uttanka then turns to his new bride and he says, "Stay here with your mother until I return with the earrings." And then Uttanka left. Oh my. Later, Gautama comes back, asking, "Where is Uttanka?" And the wife says, "He has gone to fetch the celestial earrings of King Saudasa's wife for me." So cash. And then Gautama's like, "Oh, it was not wise to demand such a fee. Saudasa has been cursed by sage Vasishta." Vasishta is just like the most unbelievably powerful sage. If you had to pick one, he's like so famous and so powerful for good reason. So he's been cursed by Vasishta and is now a cannibal. He is sure to kill Uttanka. And then she's like, "Oh, I didn't know that." And then the girl who just got married is horrified. And then the wife is like, "But my lord, surely he can be protected from coming to any harm by your grace." In our culture, in Hindu culture, the protection of a guru is said to protect you from anything. And hopefully that's the case here. So he said, the girl is thinking, "And my prayers," and then Gautama says, "He can and he will." So Gautama is going to be with him in spirit to try to keep him alive. But let's see when he's in the forest. Meanwhile, Uttanka trudged on till he came to a remote forest, and he sees somebody sitting there. That must be Saudasa. When he saw Uttanka, Saudasa got up. Ah, I am lucky you have come just in time, for it's the 6th hour of the day, and I'm hungry. And then he goes, wait, O king, I have come on an errand for my guru. It's against dharma to injure anyone who is on such a mission. Meaning that if you observe the rules of honor and duty, that's what dharma is talking about. That's what dharma means. And it means that that's not right. You can't injure someone who is on this type of mission. And then Saudasa says, but this is the only hour when I am permitted to eat, as per the curse. Besides, I am hungry, so I will not let you go. Then Uttanka, I can't believe he hasn't killed him yet. He's having a conversation with him. Uttanka's like, then let's make a pact. After I have completed my errand, I will offer myself to you. And then Saudasa's like, all right, well, what's the errand? And this is where we leave off, because I can't, as per YouTube's rules, I'm not allowed to make videos that are too long, and this is going to be much longer of a story. So come back next time. We will be putting up part 2 of the story of Uttanka. We'll see you soon.